development goals. He underlined the partnership and assistance that his ministry continues to enjoy from the United Nations Fund for Population Affairs. The Director of Medical Services, who also doubles as the chairman of the committee, spoke on the rationale behind the committee's formation.
The setting up of this committee is as a requirement for this reproductive health commodity security trust fund. The Gambia has qualified through support from UNFPA. And to ensure that reproductive health commodity is available at all levels of care, we need to institute a committee that is not only health-based, but have a multidisciplinary actors.
The United Nations Fund for Population Affairs representative believes the inaugural ceremony is a major step towards improving the country's maternal health service. The UN expert also pointed out that the linkages between ensuring reproductive health commodity security and improving maternal health are core areas of their support for the government of the Gambia.
It is in further realization of this that we have been able to mobilize additional resources to support this program.
The Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Fatim Baji, disclosed that in minutes, hundreds of people fall victims of unintended pregnancies, sexually transmitted infections, and lack of emergency obstetric care, all of which are preventable with contraceptives. The Health Minister spoke about the government's drive in the provision of essential supplies and equipment for reproductive health services.
This manifestation of this government continues to drive in improving access of basic health care, including reproductive health. The provision of reproductive health and child services are nearly free of charge in all public health facilities throughout the country, and this is a clear manifestation of the government's commitment.
With the membership of this committee drawn from key public and private sector institutions, non-governmental organizations, it is envisaged that their input will result in securing reproductive health commodities for the thousands still in need. For GRTS News, I am Samuel Ba.
We'll be back with news from outside the Gambia after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Clashes between anti-Museveni protesters and police have broken out in Uganda, where the demonstrators, led by the country's opposition leader, are venting their anger against the rising cost of staple food and fuel. And the South African president, Jacob Zuma, has arrived in Burundi for a 3-day visit seeking to boost trade and investment between Johannesburg and Bujumbura. We have details of these and other stories in this African News Roundup.
Jacob Zuma arrived in Bujumbura on Wednesday for a 3-day state visit. The aim of his trip was to boost trade and investment and to ensure the economic development of Burundi. This visit by the South African president has long been awaited. It is seen as a validation of the government of Pierre Nkurunziza. The opposition in Burundi has asked President Zuma to help with its efforts to negotiate with the government.
We are here in a visit of goodwill, firstly to celebrate the peace and be with the Burundians when we are in peace and celebrating.
In Uganda, clashes between police and opponents of President Yoweri Museveni broke out in Masaka, in the southwest of the country. The police used tear gas to disperse the crowd, led by opposition leader Kizza Besigye. The protesters were demonstrating against the rising prices of staple foods and petrol. We have decided that this time we will not overthrow a military regime with guns. We will get it out with our bare hands. And it will go. Dr. Besigye, who was defeated in the last presidential election, suffered injuries during the protest and sought treatment in Nairobi. The UK court has ruled that Shrien Dewani can be extradited to stand trial in South Africa. Mr. Dewani, a British national, is accused of having ordered the murder of his wife during their honeymoon in Cape Town. Mr. Dewani's attorney is arguing against the extradition on the grounds of overpopulation in South Africa's prisons, the risk of sexual aggression, and AIDS. The final decision rests with Britain's Interior Minister.
The famine in the Horn of Africa, especially conflicts striking Somalia, is taking a heavy toll on children who are dying of severe malnutrition and other health conditions. The United Nations has warned that whilst tens of thousands of children have died, many more are going to die unless the much-needed food aid is delivered.
Stretcher beds have hastily been set up in the corridors. Benadia Hospital is overflowing with patients. It is one of the few hospitals still functioning in Mogadishu and has been hit by waves of famine victims. The hardest hit have been the children.
It's been 3 months since several regions in the country were hit by drought. And now the children are suffering from severe malnutrition. Every day the hospitals take in another 50 children with malnutrition, measles or diarrhea.
The United Nations has been sending out constant warnings. Officials say some 12 million people have been hit by the drought in the Horn of Africa. In Ethiopia, the south has been hit, as has the north of Kenya, where a food emergency has been declared. But in Somalia, where the drought comes in the midst of war, the crisis is greatest. The UN says there is famine in several southern regions and among the people who have arrived in Mogadishu. Humanitarian aid is being organized.
72,000 children, tens of thousands of children have already died, and many more will die in the coming days unless aid is provided to them.
In the Dadaab refugee camp, people are arriving every day, and those who arrived a long time ago are still there. This has Kenya and Ethiopia worried. The border regions risk being destabilized.
From the Horn of Africa to the United Kingdom, the streets of England are quiet after 4 nights of violent rioting. One city that has paid the heavy price for the crisis is Birmingham, where 3 lives have been lost. Whilst the British Prime Minister David Cameron is maintaining that the culprits will not go unpunished, many observers see the crisis as a sign of growing frustration triggered by unemployment on the part of young people. We have more in this report.
England are quiet again after 4 nights of rioting. Residents in Birmingham held a vigil yesterday for the 3 men killed on Tuesday when they were struck by an automobile as they attempted to protect their property against rioters. Over the last 4 days, Birmingham has been among the cities torn apart by riots and looting. Residents here are seeking answers. The 3 victims were of Pakistani origin. Such violence is unusual in this racially mixed community.
Blacks, Asians, whites, we all live in the same community. Why do we have to kill one another? What started these riots and what's escalated?
The young people have made their point. We know what we've heard the message loud and clear that they've got grievances. The governments now need to listen. The politicians now need to listen and actually take them grievances to heart.
During an emergency session of Parliament on Thursday, Prime Minister David Cameron had no sympathy for the rioters.
Speaker, with permission, I would like to make a statement. It is criminality, pure and simple, and there is absolutely no excuse for it. The young people stealing flat-screen televisions and burning shops, that was not about politics or protest, it was about theft.
Opposition leader Ed Miliband met with residents of Manchester. He too condemned the violence, but saw it as the manifestation of a deeper malaise.
There is a deeper issue that our society is going to have to look at and understand. They are complex reasons. Reasons to do with the responsibility that we need in our society, responsibility we need from top to bottom, including parental responsibility.
Many blame the violence on the frustration of unemployed youth. In the United Kingdom, 1 out of 5 young people under the age of 25 is without a job. That is nearly twice as many as in 2008.
And before we end this edition of the news, a recap of the top stories. The Gambia International Airlines has pegged the 2011 Hajj package at $119,000. Global cyber giant Google has incorporated 2 Gambian languages into its online search portfolio. Protesters venting their anger against rising food and fuel prices in Uganda have clashed with police. And ringing the alarm bells, the UN has warned that famine in the Horn of Africa could claim thousands more lives unless much-needed aid supplies reach the region's hungry people. That's the news at noon. Thanks for joining us and enjoy the rest of our day's programs.